there's peace in our households, there's happiness in our households, there's no confusion in our homes. A lot of other people, they subscribe to the fact that it's quote unquote normal for you to argue, fuss, and fight with your spouse. We don't believe in that. You also got to understand who your partner is, because certain times, like, you can be a great man, you can be a great leader. If you don't have a partner who's willing to follow, it may be, some confusion there. If I can make my wife happy, she will eventually follow my lead. She's going to give me the respect that I need as a man, and then she's going to do the things that I want. She's going to make me feel wanted. She's going to make me feel loved. She's going to support my dreams. The love bank is just like a bank full of money, but in the marriage, your love bank, sometimes it becomes bankrupt because your partner is not making deposit. Most people don't live with unconditional love. Most people say I love you, but they love people with conditions. Like, there's some conditions. Welcome to another edition of the Expose and Expand podcast show. I'm the man with the plan, Jeremy Mathis. I'm Joshua. I'm going to give you the game, Mathis, and welcome to another edition of the Expose and Expand podcast show, where we expose you to the ideas, the strategies, the struggles, the failures, the people, and the experiences that have gotten us from zero to millions. Most people believe the old adage of a happy wife equals a happy life. Me and Josh subscribe to the adage of a happy house equals a happy spouse. For us, we have been fortunate enough to live in households where there's peace, tranquility, where there's excitement, where there is so much that we get from being in the households that we are in. And so often, a lot of our friends that are close to us that get exposed to our lifestyles and they get exposed to our household, they ask us, how do you guys have such great households? How is your house so amazing? That all comes from certain things that we do that we are intentional about. And today we're going to expose you to the things that we do that make our household amazing. Let's get exposed. As always, guys, man, we're on a mission to grow the show. We want to expose more people. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on any of the podcast players, please hit that follow button and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. And as always, man, be sure to expose other people to it. But I want to make sure we give people clarity on because you did a good job of helping people understand, like, that there's peace in our households, there's happiness in our households, there's no confusion in our homes. And a lot of other people, like you said, they subscribe to the fact that it's quote unquote normal for you to argue, fuss, and fight with your spouse. We don't believe in that. A lot of other people think you have to raise your kids a certain way or do certain things that we just don't believe in. So just wanted to give people more context and clarity on what it is, because I think you did a good job, but just giving a little bit more clarity. Yeah, so today we're talking about, why we live a great life. And for me, part of living a great life is making sure when you go home, you have peace. That is your place of refuge. That is your place of relaxation, where you recharge and you restore. And for us, we're fortunate that we get to do that every single day. That, like Josh said, there's no confusion, there's no hostility in our household, and we're able to leave our household, go out and create because of the amazing household that we have and the peace that we have. And today we're going to just talk about those things that have helped us get to that point. Because just having an amazing household doesn't just come because you wake up. Having an amazing household happens by design. It happens because you're putting the work in, and we put that work in so that we can create a place of refuge where we can go home and have a lot of peace. And we're going to talk about the things that each of us do. So Josh came up with a couple points that he's going to expose you guys to today. I came up with a couple points that I'm going to expose you guys today of what we do, or what I do in my household, to make sure that it's an amazing household. So, I mean, the sum it up is we've created a space that we're happy to go home to. Yep. So often people are not happy to go home. So often they get in the driveway and they got to hit their pin, or they get in the driveway and they got to take 20 deep breaths. They get in the driveway, they got to call a friend before they go in the house. And for us, we don't have those issues. So we've created an environment and a space to where we're happy. And like Jeremy said, we want to break it down. So I should have put that in the intro, because you're right. No, you're right. At the beginning of my relationship, now I'm married, but at the beginning, I used to get home and I used to have to take the 20 deep breaths. I used to have to, get my mind prepared in order to go into the house. I used to have to do all those things that you mentioned, but I don't have to do that anymore because I stopped living at home. I stopped living and making things happen by default, and I started to make them happen by design, which we're going to go over today. For me, it was just like understanding, if you guys don't know, I was married before, and like seeing two completely different sides of the spectrum, living two completely different type of lifestyles. Right, one where I was married before, and this is not throwing my ex-wife under the bus, because again, as a man, I think we lead, but we'll get to those points. So with my previous relationship, or my first marriage, it was a house where I wasn't happy to go home to, and now I've created an environment to where I'm happy to go home to. So I am fortunate enough to be able to see both sides of the spectrum, to understand that, like, one, I created the issues beforehand when I didn't have a house I wanted to go home to, but now I have an example of the house I want to go home to. So yeah. So guys, what is the first thing, or what is one thing that you do to go home to that gets you excited to go home and have an amazing household? For me, number one, I've said this multiple times before, that as a man, you set the tone and the standard for your household. So for me, like, being able to create that standard and that tone for my household allows me to create the atmosphere that I want. So I'll give you guys an example of that. So setting the standard and the tone is, whether things are good in my house or whether they're bad in my house, I take full responsibility for that. So for the good, I'm intentional about that. I'm intentional about, one, making sure that me and my queen live in partnership. I'm intentional in making sure that my kids are loved and they're understood. I'm intentional about the energy that I bring to the house. Got you. So one thing that I've heard this twice this year, is, as the man, you are the thermostat. You control the temperature of your house. And when I heard that, it was profound, because that's something that I truly believe. As the man, you set that temperature in the house. So many people, oh, my wife this. We hear so many men say, my wife this, my wife that. And I'm looking at them like, bro, you the leader. You set the temperature of what's going on. So if the temperature is good enough, it's on you. If it's bad, that's on you. So that's just another point to summarize that. But you say that when you go home. Before you make that point, I do want people to understand, like, yes, as the man, you're the temperature, you're the leader. And you also got to understand who your partner is, because certain times, like, you can be a great man, you can be a great leader, but if you don't have a partner who's willing to follow, if you don't have a partner who's dealt with their trauma the right way, it may be, some confusion there. But I agree with that, but then that's contradicting to what you're saying. Like, if you're a partner this, if you're a partner that. A part of leadership is seeing your partner's weaknesses and then challenging them to get better, and making them want to be better. And that's a part of leadership. Yeah. So you're absolutely right about what you just said. But also, again, I just want to make sure that people understand that, yes, your partner may come to the relationship or the marriage with trauma. Yes, they may have their own issues, but being a leader is doing the hard things, and the hard things are calling your partner out and communicating in such a way where they start to understand that they need to go get the help and do the things that they need to do. So I want to make sure that we say that. No, agreed. All right. So the one of the things that I do to make sure that I have a peaceful household that's amazing and filled with love and peace is I gamify it. What that means is I am intentional about everything that I do in my household. What it also means is that for my wife, I understand that she helps me lead the household. So it's a part of gamifying my marriage is making sure that I'm constantly, every day, making her happy. When you play a game, you're not going to win every single game that you play in. But if you continue to play the game, you get better and better and better, and eventually you start to win all the time. So when I first started to gamify my marriage, at the beginning, it wasn't as peaceful. It wasn't what I wanted to be. But then I subscribed to this concept that I just told you guys about, which is keep playing the game and things will get better. So for me, my focus in my household is, how do I make my wife happy? Because if I can make my wife happy, she will eventually follow my lead. She's going to give me the respect that I need as a man. And then she's going to do the things that I want. She's going to make me feel wanted. She's going to make me feel loved. She's going to support my dreams. So often people are in the marriage or in the relationship and they're trying to look at it as a 50-50 thing. No, I look at it as, if I can bring 100% to this, if she's the right person for me, she's going to step her game up and she's going to be better. So for me, I gamify my marriage to make sure that I'm making her happy. And because she's the partner that I need, she stepped her game up and she's reciprocating that energy. That's good. That's good. And most people, and it goes back to the point that you made earlier, that as a leader, you set the tone, and you said something that's key that I want people to miss. Like, you focus on ensuring that she's happy because you know that she's the partner who's going to reciprocate that energy. How did you get to a point to knowing and understanding that she's a partner who has the ability to reciprocate that energy? I didn't. So I had to first. Great leadership is when you lead by example and not with words. And for me, we used to go to therapy and we had our struggles where, oh, she ain't giving me what I need. And she would say, oh, he ain't giving me what I need. And our therapist helped us understand this concept called the love bank. The love bank is just like a bank full of money. But in the marriage, your love bank, sometimes it becomes bankrupt because your partner is not making deposits. And our therapist said, one of you guys have to give the other person what they need so the other person that's not giving you what you need can fall in line. So I said, you know what, me being a leader and leadership, you got to do the hard things. I said, I'm going to put my needs aside. I ain't going to worry about all the things that she's not doing. I'm going to start focusing on the things that she's doing really well, and I'm going to help her understand how I appreciate that. And then I'm going to give her the things that she needs. And I put it in my mind, I'm going to focus on this for the next 6 months. I ain't going to worry about what I'm getting. I'm going to just give. And if she's the person that I need to be with, then she's going to step her game up. So it got to a point where I'm giving. I'm increasing her love bank. I'm making deposits in her love bank. And it got to a point where she stepped it up because I made her happy. I did all the things that she was asking me to do. And I stopped focusing on, oh, you ain't doing this for me. You ain't doing that for me. And I just started focusing on her. Yeah. So that's a whole bar, man. That's a whole bar that I hope you guys didn't miss. And I think that's a sign of true partnership, where it's understanding, okay, what's the phrase it up. Sometimes I look at relationships like business, and one thing that we always say, for the greater good of the organization. Yeah. And at home is for the greater good of the home. Yeah. And what you did was made a decision for the greater good of your home. You said, hey, let me put my wants and my needs aside to create the space that I want, and then eventually that energy will be reciprocated to me. So I didn't want you guys to miss that, because so often we're focusing on what the other person is or isn't doing and not on our own self. But when you start to give out the energy that you want to receive, eventually it's going to come back to you, right? If they're the right partner. Yeah, if they're the right partner. And you have to get to a point where if you're giving, and then you're not seeing that reciprocated, then you got a decision to make. Yeah. Fortunately for me, I had a partner that I led her the right way. And I led her the right way. So, all right, cool. So the second thing that I do to ensure that I have a happy and peaceful household is I understand and we have open lines and effective communication in my home. We understand and we know, as my good buddy Marcus always say, that everything in your life get better when you get better with your words. So for us, the way that we communicate to each other is so important. There's no fussing, there's no fighting, there's no arguing. We don't raise our voices in our house. We do weekly check-ins. I do check-ins with Queen and I do check-in with the kids. And that's us spending 10, 15 minutes together. Hey, everything good? Anything I can work on? Did I do anything this past week that hurt you? Did I do anything that made you feel good? You know, every night we have we have daily check-ins. I ask the kids, what was your high, low, and unexpected for today? And when we do that, it allows us to create conversation. So for me, understanding that my life and my home will get better if I get better with the communication. Yes, that is so good. And for me and Ash, we do the same thing. We have what is called Sunday sessions. And we got to a point where I used to always feel like when she came to me, she was nagging. And then I said, you know what, during the week, I'm dealing with so much stuff. Let's try to hold off on certain things that you bring to me, and let's hold it for Sunday sessions. And Sunday sessions is a place where it's an open place where we can really communicate, and I'm coming in with an open mind to receive. She's coming in with an open mind to receive, because so often when you bring certain things to your partner, if it's the bad timing, it may create conflict. So that's kind of, we do the same thing, but we actually titled ours like Sunday sessions, where when we put the kids to bed at night on Sunday, let's go outside, let's sit on our balcony, and let's have an open, in-depth conversation about all the things that have bothered you this past week and vice versa, and the other person has to be receiving. A part of Sunday sessions is also not rebuttaling on anything. It's just asking clarifying questions to make sure that we have greater understanding of what the real issue is, because so many people, like you said, they don't know how to communicate. So you dropped so many points and so many gems, right? I'm happy to hear that you guys are doing the same thing in your home, because I know how it's benefited my home having these weekly check-ins with my lady and with the kids. But like you said, one, there's, we're not rebuttaling. Two, we're not doing it during the week because there's so many stressors on the outside world, and you don't want to add that stress to your partner. So what I do, or what Queen does, is we just write it down, and then when we do the check-in, it's like, hey, I don't like this, I don't like that. So that was key. But then a part of us having those sessions is creating a space where it's okay to be vulnerable, right? So many people don't share their true feelings with their partners because their partners or themselves hasn't created a space on where they could be vulnerable. And that's something I want to shout Queen out for, because like before, like most men, you don't open up because you don't want it to be thrown back in your face. You don't want your partner to feel a certain way. But when you create that space where you and your partner could be vulnerable, it allows you guys to get to a deeper connection. It's a deeper point to say, like, this truly is my best friend, and I can really share how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking with this person with no judgment. Like, being able to do that has created unconditional love in my household. Most people don't live with unconditional love. Most people say I love you, but they love people with conditions. I love you if, I love you when, I love you. Like, there's some condition. For me and Queen, it's just I love you. And there's nothing attached to it. It's I love you. And the love is shown with action. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, no, definitely more great points. And I think these check-ins, if you're intentional about them, I think it also, like I said, I just want to touch on this again, it creates a judgment-free zone. Because so often conversations go sideways because you believe one thing, I believe something different, and there's clashes, or you start to judge somebody because of how they feel or because of things that they said. But when you are in these check-ins, I don't know, I'm sure you guys do the same thing. It's vulnerability, it's intimacy, it's transparency, and it's judgment-free, right? All four things, which I think are very critical to continue to build that intimacy, to continue to build that connection. That's a great point. And then the last point I want to make on this topic is also, when you have those check-in, it doesn't allow the build-up to happen. So many couples get into fights and arguments because of the build-up, because of months and months of not saying something. So if you have these check-ins and you're doing them the right way, communicating effectively, like Jerm said, with transparency, honesty, and judgment-free, it won't be any build-up. So there are so many people that are in relationships with people that they resent for one reason or another. In my house, I don't resent her. She doesn't resent me because there's no buildup. Doing those weekly check-ins allows us to be free. And guys, what Josh said, what he means by the buildup is, in relationships, what I've done in the past, what Josh has done in the past, and what we see from so many other relationships and marriages is, certain people, they want to speak up, but they don't know how to speak up. They don't know how to have the conversation, or they just feel as though, oh, this person ain't gonna listen to me. I'm not gonna feel heard anyway, so I ain't gonna say anything. And what happens is you keep doing it over time. It begins to build up, and then, like Josh said, you create resentment, which at that point you lose respect, you lose love, you lose admiration, all the things that are needed, all the important ingredients that are needed to make sure that home is peaceful and amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's good. And before John give his next point, hey guys, this has been a great episode so far. So if y'all listening, man, y'all tapping in with us, be sure to share and expose somebody else. What's your next point? So my next point, and the next thing that I do to make sure that I have a peaceful, great at-home life is I'm intentional about increasing our connection and our intimacy. So outside of doing our Sunday sessions during the week, I make sure that when I come home, when I'm coming into the house, I give her a 6-second kiss. The reason why I do that is because I saw the research that says 6 seconds of connection increases the serotonin in her brain. So So again, as part of me increasing the connection and intimacy is when I coming in the house, I'm giving her that 6 second kiss and I'm giving her a hug. I'm asking her, how was your day? How are you feeling? And then I go tend to the kids. I help her understand that she's my first priority before even the kids. Yes, the kids, they greet me at the door because they're excited to see me. I give them their hugs and their kisses, but then I go straight to her. Give her that 6 second kiss, the hug, and ask her, how you doing? How you feeling? After we put the kids down, most nights when I'm not working, at least 3 to 4 times a week, I'm making sure that we have a 20-minute conversation during the week. The reason why I did that is because her love language is quality time. Understanding her top love language is quality time, and you start realizing that if I give 20 minutes per day, because so many couples and so many people believe I got to give this extended amount of time, which is not the case. If I give her 20 minutes undivided attention, not being on my phone, but really looking at her and seeing what her issues are, seeing what her challenges are, helping her work through her challenges, I'm increasing that intimacy. I'm increasing that connection. Also, outside of that 20 minutes is when we go out on dates or when we in the car, I'm very, very, very intentional about the questions that I ask and the conversation that we're having. So often people allow their conversations to decrease and not be filled with positivity, to not be filled with loving, to not be filled with any intrigue. For me, I'm making sure in our conversations is filled with intrigue, and I'm teaching her different things, and then she's reciprocating that back to me. So at this point, she has somebody in her life that, man, this man, every day he's teaching me something new. All the time we're having great conversation. I'm not letting it die down, because at the beginning of the relationship, the conversation game was A1. Right? So many people, their conversation game A1 at the beginning, but then they allow it to die down because they just get in emotion, they get in the routine, and now somebody's in a boring relationship because you ain't having great conversation, which turns into less connection, less intimacy, less sex, and everybody's frustrated. So again, just what I do intentionally is make sure that I increase the connection and the intimacy in my marriage. That was good. There's a lot of good points that you made, but like one of the things that, like from everything that you just said, one word that comes to mind is intention. You said, hey, my wife's love language is quality time. Like that doesn't just happen by default. That happens by design. It's because you're intentional about it. And I think we can have a whole episode about love language. But again, if you're listening to this and you truly care about your partner, you rock with them and you want to get better, like be intentional about the things. Understand your partner, right? The love language test is a free test, and it allows you to understand how your partner wants to be loved. And you should take it for yourself to understand how you want to be loved, because a lot of people blame other people, say you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Where if you're not telling them those things or you're not showing those things, they won't know. So, there's a lot of intention there. Yeah, definitely. But even just talking about intention, and this is because I asked her the other day, what made you fall back in love with me? Because we've had our issues, and I asked her. One of the things she was like, just how intentional you are about things, which got me to thinking. When I want to talk about this, as far as intentionally increasing our connection and intimacies, I'm intentional about our planning. So every month we plan out the entire month, because quality time is important to her. We plan dates by ourselves, and then we plan dates with the kids because that's important to her. And by doing that, I'm giving her exactly what her wants are. I'm being very intentional about that, so that in return, again, going back to gamifying it, I'm giving her everything that she needs. So in return, I can get the things that I want. So guys, don't stop dating your significant other. Don't stop planning and trying to make that person feel how you did at the beginning of the relationship when you guys first got together. So many people, they say their relationship or their marriage is boring, but they're not doing anything to keep it going how they first met. Yeah. No, that's good. That's really good. So the next point that I want to make is, and another thing that I do to ensure that there's peace, happiness, love, joy, and the good vibes in my house, is not sweating the small stuff, and then also removing the small stuff off of our plate. So what I mean is, there's things that your partner, that your kids are going to do, and it may bother you, but there's certain things that you need to have a conversation around, and then there's certain things where it's just like, you know what, I won't let it bother me, or it's something that's small. So, and I'll give you guys an example. Shout out to my queen, and I love her, but she travels a lot. and she always tells me, oh yeah, I'm going out of town tomorrow. Oh yeah, I'm leaving town today. And it's last minute. And before, it used to bother me, and it really, really bothered me. But now I understand, like, okay, boom, that's who she is, and I'm going to help her on that. So now I ask her at the beginning of every week, hey, you leaving town this week? You doing anything this week? So I understand. Okay, so I know ahead of time, or even with the kids. So those small things don't matter. Another thing when it comes to the small things is, like, fortunate enough for us, we can have a nanny and housekeeper. So the small things that people argue about, who's going to wash the dishes, who's going to, take out the trash, who's going to mop the floor, who's going to wash the clothes and fold the clothes. Like, we don't have those issues, right? So, and if that's something, if you can't afford that in your house, like, you got to work in partnership with it. But thankfully enough, we're in a position to where we don't have to worry about those things, and it removes a huge stressor from our life. Gosh, real game right there. Real game. So many people, they sweat the small stuff in so many relationships and so many marriage. And one thing that I've had to train myself on, that me and Ash are very intentional about, is this going to matter next week? Mm-hmm. Is it going to matter next week? And that's one thing that I've had to, I won't say train her on that, but just really bring to the forefront of her mind, because so often we both used to do it a lot, where we used to make the small things way bigger than they needed to be. And then we got to a point where it's like, bro, is this really going to matter next week? Because if it ain't going to matter next week, like, let's converse about it. Let me know how you feel, and let's move on. Let's move past it, and let's not make it bigger than it needs to be. For you, that could have been something that became real, real detrimental to your marriage. But like you said, you help her. Yeah. You help her with her weaknesses. And that's what partnership is. Like, one of my weaknesses is, my wife she's OCD to the T. And we done been to dinner. We done had, y'all know how it is at the crib. And I understand, I'm a little messy. I'm a little junky. I ain't the cleanest person. But living with somebody that has OCD and those tendencies is tough. But she sees my effort, and she rewards me for my effort. And she's not focusing on me not being perfect, but she's focusing on my progress and my effort, and she helps me on the things. Does she want to help me? I'm sure she doesn't, but she understands that I am who I am, and she sees my effort, and she gives me the benefit of the doubt for my effort. So yeah, she's not focusing on the small thing. Yeah. And again, like you said, that it's the small stuff that creates it's the small stuff that turn into big stuff, and you can avoid it simply by how you respond or not sweating it. You know what I'm saying? Or if it's something that's really bothering you, bring it up in your weekly check-in, like we talked about. Yeah. So guys, so the last thing that I want to talk about today about what I do that ensures that I have an amazing household is I make my wife feel very secure. And when we was preparing for this topic, I asked her, what are the things that I did to make you fall in love? And one of the things that she helped me understand was, Jeremy, you make me feel very, very secure. You make me feel like I'm the only woman in the world. And what that does to me and my confidence, it helps me tremendously. And when she said that to me, like, I didn't even realize I did it. But when she said it, it's like, oh, wow, I am intentional about making her feel special, about making her feel like she's the only one, because I won't call us celebrities because we're not that, but we people know us from the gram. People see what we're doing. We get different attention from different people, and if your partner is not securing themselves, that can be some issues in your relationship, in your marriage. So for me, she was like, "Man, Jeremy, you make me feel very, very secure. You make me feel like I'm that girl." Yeah. And she said to me, that's very, very important. And I just wanted to touch on that because, again, sometimes people get in marriages and at the beginning they make their partner feel like they are everything in their world, but then that starts to die down. So let's just give some examples about how I make her feel like she's that girl. Every day I'm looking at her. Even when she wake up, baby, you beautiful. I'm letting her know every single day you beautiful. That way, if another man tell you that you used to being told you beautiful, every day I let my wife know multiple times throughout the day, I love you. Every day I let my wife know I appreciate you for supporting me in my dreams. I appreciate you for the mother that you are. I appreciate you for the partner that you are. And I let her know all the time, like I'm her number one hype man. Yeah. I'm her number one hype man, and that helps her feel secure. So that's another thing that I do that leads me to have an amazing at-home life. Yeah. That was another gem within itself. But like one point that you made that I don't want people to miss is like you're your partner's number one fan, and that is so important. You don't never want your partner to feel like someone else is their number one fan. You want that to be felt at home. And I can say that in both of our households, we do a great job of championing our partners and being their number one supporter. And then two, we get each other in on the action too. Like if, Ash is doing something, you'll let us know and then we'll cheer on, and then vice versa. And it's just like, it's an atmosphere of love that we create. So I know we said 3 points. I want to make one more point that I wrote down. And for me, the last point that I want to make is allowing each other to do what makes each other happy and respecting each other's space. That's another thing that we do in our household that allows us to live in more peace, harmony, and happiness. And what that means for us is, like, there are things that Queen wants to do, the kids want to do, that's going to make them happy. I may not like it, I may not agree with it, but I allow them to do it. Or like for me, when it comes to respecting each other's space, like, her phone is her phone. There's so many couples that say, oh, I need your password. Oh, I need this and I need that. And it's not that your partner's hiding anything. It's her phone. Even if you pay the bill, that's her phone. Or if she's, doing something, or she's going out and you're asking them 1,001 questions and it's for the wrong reasons. For me, if you go out, have a good time. We've created a space where we trust each other, but then also I understand who I am and she understands who she is. Like you said, you tell Ash all the time, like, you're that girl. Queen tells me all the time, like, hey, you that guy. I believe I'm that guy, and vice versa, so we can respect each other's space. That is so key. So often, like, we hear so many times, like about the password, and I'm like, bro, that is that person's phone, that is that person's iPad, that is that person's space, like. And so often people feel entitled, like they should have each other's password. They feel entitled, like when that person goes out, that they should be able to call them while they out. Or share locations and all of that. And to me, that is ludicrous to me. And I have the mindset, to each his own, but to me, that's like you're in a prison. Yeah. Like you somebody got to boss you, like somebody bossing you around, knowing what you got going on, what your every move is. And yes, I believe, because the Bible says when you get married, you become one. But I also believe that you have your own separate identity as well. Yes. You have your own separate identity. And so often people go left in their relationship and their marriage go left because they don't allow the other person to have their own identity. They try to make them become something that they not. They help them. They make them do things that they don't really want to do. And that was a great point. Because again, like I've been blessed. Again, I don't like my divorce was a blessing in disguise. At the time, I didn't understand that, but like with my ex, I wasn't allowed to live the life I wanted to, be who I am. And it's not because of her. I'm not putting any blame on her. It's just, one, I wasn't the leader I was supposed to be, but then two, it was other issues. But now I can be who I want to be. LaVon can be who she wants to be, and we are freely those people, right? We're our own individual selves. So no, that's real game. That's real game. And just another point of letting your significant other be who they want to be. People don't understand like how you allow your wife to go out all the time and to be out to 5, 6 in the morning. And I look at them crazy, like, what do you mean allow? Number one, she's an adult. Number two, she makes her own decisions. And number three, that's something that we've made a part of our marriage. Before she met me, she was going out and staying out late. Before she met me, she was doing certain things. So yes, I do believe when you get in a relationship and marriage, certain things need to stop, but certain things that don't need to stop. And one of the things for me is my wife likes to go out and enjoy herself. I like to go out and enjoy myself. Most times with her, sometimes without her, and vice versa. So again, guys, just make sure that you are not trying to force your partner to be somebody that they're not and to do things that they really don't want to do. Guys, this has been real game today. If you want your household to be amazing, if you want your household to be filled with peace, love, honesty, vulnerability, intimacy, and all the other things that we talked about today, take these tips and start to apply them and watch what happens to your life. And if you're a man, remember, you set the temperature. You set the standard for your marriage and your relationship. It's on you to step up to make sure that you're doing the things so that your wife or your partner can fall in line to be who you need them to be. Any parting words? That's it, my boy. Guys, as always, we have our gentleman's agreement. You got value because you're still listening. Share this episode with somebody that needs a better at-home life, that needs more peace in the house. Because, guys, we gave real game today. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast player, hit that follow button. Leave us a 5-star review. And guys, expose more people to the Expose and Expand podcast show so that we continue to grow it. And guys, remember, exposure leads to expansion. Peace. Expose and expand. Peace.